You guys often come to me asking for advice because you've got a game project that you're working on, but you just can't seem to make progress. Like you can't find the focus, you can't be dedicated, or you're just trying to procrastinate all the time. It doesn't look like you're actually making progress. And at this point, the 1 month project that you thought you had has already taken over a year and you don't know what to do. Well, in this video, I want to talk a bit more about some principles that we use here at Bite Me Games at our own studio that has helped us ship our first game and allows us to have if you ask me, a very high productivity rate in our studio of just delivering work day after day and making progress on our games. And I think the first thing I would do is try and see if you can implement a no 0 days. We've talked about this in videos before, and there are some thoughts I have about this. When we started out with Forge Industry, about the first month, everything was going pretty jolly. We were making progress on our own game, but it was going very, very slow. And then by the end of the first month, we had already all lost motivation, basically. We didn't want to do that much on the project anymore. That's when we came up with the first idea of the 5-minute rule, is what we called it, but it's the same as no 0 days really, where every day you just spend 5 minutes on your game or on your studio or something related to it. Could be just making a little bit of extra code, fixing a stupid bug, or just even planning out what you're going to do as your next move. What are you going to do as the next thing that needs to be done? And honestly, this has helped our studio at least a lot. We've used that approach for a very long time, and I still use that approach, and Thomas also still uses that approach quite a bit, where we try to do something every single day. Honestly, part of the issue is also just that I have no life outside of game development, so I just do only game development, but that's a whole different story. Like I said, the concept is simple. You just work every day on your project. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that this is not infinitely sustainable. Generally, I think after 3 months, we need like a little break. Could be different for you, but at least 1 month, you should be able to do a no 0 days where you do 5 minutes of work every single day. And you can do more. You don't have to do at most 5 minutes, because then, yeah, your game isn't gonna be made. But by just having permanently that idea of I should do something every day, no matter how small, you're going to keep making progress, because these small increments will stack up much more than if you spend 1 day and then you do nothing for 2 weeks, and then you go hardcore again because you just forget what you're working on, you forget the vision, and you just have to get into the project again. By keeping up with that no 0 days rule, you don't lose sight, you don't lose focus of what you're working on. And then a rule that you can add upon the no 0 days rule is the rule of 1% or Kaizen. There's multiple terminologies for it, where everything you do every day, you try to do it 1% better. And this is gonna sound very vague, but hear me out. It's just the idea that you consciously think about whatever you're doing and you ask yourself, what can I do to improve whatever I'm doing right now? So an example for me was our editing, where before I just put a random lo-fi music soundtrack in the back. Now I try to find music that is a bit better fitting, for example. It's a very small thing, or I try to match up the music with like the start of the different chapters. Very simple stuff, but those things, once again, they compound, just like the little bit of work every day. And at the end of the month, you're going to have done more. Another example is, instead of just writing a method the same way you always have for, I don't know, updating player movement, ask yourself, is this actually the best way? And look at it. If there's something you can do, maybe make it a bit more error safe, or try and like optimize it just a little bit to make it better, and keep improving that way. Once again, this sounds very dumb because 1% is also so small. How do you quantify it? Just ask yourself, how would I be able to improve this a little bit, and actually try to implement it? And now this next one, honestly, most of these are gonna sound a bit weird, but this next one is that I want you to fantasize about your dreams and about your studio's future, like 5 years down the line. This is something that we do, or at least I do. I don't know about the rest of the team. Maybe I'm just very weird in this regard, but I like to daydream about where is our studio going. I have this vision board of how am I going to be in 3 years from now? Like, what is going to be my workday then? How is big is the studio gonna be? Like, we're gonna have dedicated art people on our teams and things like that. We'll be working on multiple projects. We'll have a lot of funding. I'll do the YouTube still. And I just fantasize about that because that makes me feel warm and happy and the dopamine comes out. But this is really good if you feel lost. If you don't feel like you're making that much progress, I try to do this with the team as well. Like, if we don't feel like we're making that much progress, one of our biggest wins we can do to get everyone aligned again is to go and, like, this is our little ritual, to go to Burger King And I always just lure them in, being like, hey, let's go to Burger King and like just hang out. And then I talk about the vision 2-3 years down the line. I ask people, what do you want? Like, I make them open up about their own dreams, and they get that spark of hope back. And this is really good if you're in the valley of despair part of game development, where you don't really want to continue, you don't know if your project is even going to make sense. And this is something that can help you out of it, because by getting a little boost, you want to work again. And don't get me wrong, this is very superficial. And the moment you've started working for like a few minutes again, you're probably going to lose that spark again, but that's no worries because you started again. And the hardest part is just getting started. Once you've started, it's much easier to just keep the ball rolling and keep working a little bit more. Something else that you should do when you do this is do realize that maybe you will never reach this, and that's fine. That's why you go for the big dreams. When I talk to my friends about this, I don't ask them for what I like to call the small dick goals of, you know, maybe we earn like $500 a month by next year. It's like, of course we're gonna earn $500 a month. Instead, look at, I wanna earn $50,000 a month. Because even if this is not achievable, maybe you're still going to reach it. A great example is this YouTube channel. Back at the start of this year, I set the goal to get a total of 50,000 subscribers on this channel. And obviously, we haven't really gone on that. We're at like 13,000 right now. But if I had set the goal for 5,000 subscribers instead, yeah, we would have still hit it, but I wouldn't have gone that hard. 50,000 subscribers made me want to go to 2 uploads a week because I knew that was what I was going to have to do. And having these bigger goals just allows you to get more drive. This is very superficial, but try it out. Think big. There's a book about it, The Magic of Thinking Big. There are some really good concepts in it. And one of the great things you can do when you're on that high of, I want to get to this point, is to make a strategy. So figure out in 2 years, I want to have 50,000 subscribers, or I want to have 10 released games or whatever. And then plan backwards. Okay, how would I, if I had to coach myself, approach this? What would I have to do to reach this number? For example, YouTube, in the end, it's a simple numbers game. Even if you make garbage videos, if you just make enough of them, at some point you will grow. So then it's just a matter of going through that motion all the time. With games, you can plan out, okay, these are the current games I want to make. You sketch out the different mechanics maybe, and then like how they all fit into the entire development process, like what would you do when? And then have that strategy so that every day that you do something, because no 0 days, you know what to do and you don't just open your computer and you type out something and then that's it. I've mentioned this in other videos before. Have long-term goals as well in your planning, not just focus on, I need these specific features implemented, but focus on what is going on next. Always have a next game you're thinking about, but this is the hard part. Write it down and don't actually work on it anymore until it is time. Have it as part of your strategy, but don't constantly think about it and then drop your old game mid-development because, hey, actually, I'm sure that this new idea is going to be much better. It's gonna be a bit of a struggle, but having that strategy, that long-term vision, will allow you to work with much more focus and to improve with direction. Similar with the 1% better every day, if you know what your final self should be like, you can look back at, okay, what are the different things I need to improve upon? Maybe it's art, maybe it's programming faster, programming better, and then you can just work towards that every single day, but you know what to do. And then the last thing is you should make a contract with yourself. This is of course very weird again, but you're not actually gonna write a contract with yourself. Maybe you can like do it if it works for you, just to like have some significance to it. But once you've committed to a project, commit to it. Do not get distracted by those shiny objects. I know they're shiny, but please work on the one project you have and don't switch out between 7 different prototypes that none of them are ever going to see the light of day. You almost need to shut down yourself from the internet whilst you're working on your project. Of course, you can't really do that, but you should start working your own small game development bubble. And I can hear you talk right now, like, what if Unity does another big screw up? Or what if there's a new genre suddenly very popular and my old genre that I'm currently working on isn't really gonna matter anymore? Because if you have a small game that has a smaller scope, it means smaller development time, which means that honestly, you can just shift after your game is published. Like, for example, if there's a hot new genre out there, or maybe roguelite deck builders aren't really hype anymore. Like, for example, that's the issue right now. If you've been spending the past 2 years working on a roguelite deck builder, I'm sorry, but it's kind of your fault for being too slow, in my opinion, to not be able to adapt to the market anymore, because now you suddenly have to change your current project scope to be something that fits the current market better. Whereas if you go for shorter development cycles, you can just make your idea, publish it whilst the market maybe is like the trend is going down, but the trend is still going to be there. And then you just regroup, you'll learn from your mistakes, and you do it all over again with maybe the new hotness genre. But if you go for the very long development cycles, then you do need to worry about these trends. And that is when you start losing time as well. And you start getting more doubt, you start getting more uncertainty. Those were our main things. Of course, you know, just Merry Christmas, stay hard. You can keep grinding like David Goggins says, but these are some of the more humane things that we do to keep our motivation up in the studio. So I'm curious, what do you have that like helps you a lot when you don't really feel like you want to work that much anymore, or when you feel like you're a bit lost? Do you have some principles of your own? Leave them in the comments down below. I'm really interested to hear about them. Apart from that, we're game developers, we've made our own game, we're working on our next game, and we document the entire process of running our studio, about making games, and just all of the mistakes we make, all of the things we learn, and we share them with you here on our YouTube twice a week. So if that's something that you're interested in, head down below, give us a like, and also subscribe, as it really helps us out, because we know that you care about these kinds of videos, and we're gonna keep making them. That's all I really had to say. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!